I failed you. Wait, give me a second. Probably should do it better. Just I failed you because I couldn't build every single deck that you wanted me to. Ha ha ha! I'm not infallible. Don't at me. Hi, I'm Cody, Power Budget TCG, and this is different because my green screen isn't in use right now. It's charging. My dad jokes are stupid. I decided to do something a little bit different because I wanted to try and test out some new stuff. New year, new content type of thing. And this I think is going to be a really interesting idea. I haven't been able to build every single deck that I wanted to build throughout the year, kind of obviously. But what I think is going to be interesting is if I throw it out to you and just at least talk about exactly what stopped me between building a lot of decks, because I've tried to build a lot of decks this year. But sometimes you just can't build everything you want to build. And so in this case, I have a handful of them, and for some reason or another, I just decided not to continue building it, or I decided that I wasn't going to put it on the channel, and some different alternatives of what some channel decks could have been. I don't plan on doing a lot of videos like this, but I don't know, if it does well, maybe I will. But either way, let's get into a few of the decks that I just couldn't build. One of the first ones that I even tried to build was Gruul Goad deck. Gruul Goad with Baeloth Barrityl. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll give it my best. With Baeloth and Raised by Giants as the partner commander, you could get both of them out into the field, meaning everything that's 10 or less is constantly goaded. Very nice, but Baeloth ended up becoming an $8 card and also one of the grossest commanders that you can possibly have. It also kind of peaked now above 34 bucks, but if I get rid of like the Bothersome Quasi or like Atlakin Jackal, it really starts getting a lot closer to the price that I'd like. The only problem I had with this deck was that it ended up being just a little bit too much in the realm of like, people hated you. And I know, yeah, I'm in Gruul, but like, it was still pretty difficult to get a lot of the things out because people would either get rid of the Raised by Giants or Baeloth, and then they'd be attacking you. And all you would be left with is a bunch of treasures and a bunch of disgruntled opponents. It just, I don't know, I didn't have the best of fun playing it, but it was a pretty powerful deck. I mean, any Baeloth player would tell you, Baeloth gets really powerful, especially if you get 10 power on it. But yeah, I mean, some of this deck was pretty nice. I, for some reason, really like the idea of Wither in here too, so I put Blightsickle in there, because if things were to like try and hit me, I could just completely eradicate them, meaning just don't block my commander, hoping command damage would be the way to get through it. But then also Dragon Throne of Tarkir, because I have a massive commander, you might as well get your entire board to have trample and such. It just really lacked some way to actually finish out the game though, because as much as I loved the fact that like Baeloth would make everybody start swinging at each other, it never really finished out the game hardcore. So once you were left kind of alone with somebody, they were swinging at you with their entire board full of stuff, and you kind of had no choice but to take it. And plus, Baeloth has just a really interesting history with a lot of people, and usually it's not good. Not good at all. And speaking of being not good at all, how about Kazuul, Tyrant of the Cliffs? Now, this one was an interesting card because I decided that I wanted to build it due to the fact that it was a part of a deck that I already really liked. The only problem was that this is one of the first few times that I've realized some things are just better in the 99 than they are in practice as a commander. So in the 99 of this deck, it was a very, very, very fun deck, and I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I think I was building someone else a deck that cared about like red tokens. I don't think it was a Zirda deck, but it was something close. But what happened was I made this and I'm like, oh, easy, you know, I'll just have everybody attack and I'll do everything that I can to make sure creatures are going back and forth and hopefully at me. And it just never really happened, because when they see Kazuul out, they don't care to get at you. They don't care to go to you. They care to go where they want to go, even if you are forcing combat. They're just going to be more upset that you're forcing combat than anything else. And plus, Avatar of Slaughter, it's a really good way to make sure, even if they didn't pay it, that they're not gonna leave you with a 3/3. So, as fun as it is, you didn't really have a lot of options when it came to like any of the stuff. Oh, speaking of Baeloth Barrityl, becoming the Monarch was a thing that I wanted to do, getting everybody to attack, like making sure everybody had to attack. But it was very difficult to make them attack me. There was a lot of goad attacking other people, but not me. So it was just interesting because it felt like it would have something to do, but it really did not much. And plus, if they were to attack you and they had flyers, they wouldn't even care. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll swing in, I'll give you your 3/3s, I won't pay. And then you'll be like, haha, fool, I have 2 3/3s. I'll take the 12 damage. Really stupid, and it didn't work out well. And this is, again, one of the things that I also had an issue with, where I'd always want a specific card, and you'll see, if I ever really can get this card in there, I will. And that card is Dragon Throne of Tarkir. I love Dragon Throne of Tarkir. It is an amazing card. The problem is that it doesn't fit in every deck. I know he's a 5/4. Giving everything +5/+5 and trample, pretty good. My brain doesn't somehow process the knowledge of not every deck needs this. And this is one of those times where it's like, not every deck needs it. This might do better with it, but like, not every deck needs it. It's better to just have Kazuul in the 99 of a deck than it is to really build Kazuul as a commander themselves. If anything, if I'd fix this around, I'd say Goad. I don't know if you guys have anything to recommend to do with it, but like, Goad would be the one thing that I'd think of right now where, yeah, let them kill each other and then bring them back in, but like, there's not much. It's not that great. And to be real, if you do want to go in and give me ideas of how to fix these things, these might actually become deck lists. I mean, it's kind of also why I'm showing you, because to show that like I go through a lot of the stuff that like you recommend that I go through. It's just that sometimes it don't work out. These two are like complete deck lists, and I decided, oh yeah, no, I'll just make both of them and see how it works. But like some of them get incomplete, like completely not anything. I just got so lost on them. Mr. Foxglove is an example of one of those things, where it has lifelink, so it's a 3/5, it's got a big butt, and then whenever it attacks, draw cards equal to the number of cards in their hand, minus the number of cards in your hand. So I thought this was a really cool concept. It's perfect card draw, but you do have to swing into somebody, especially somebody who has a lot of cards in hand. The only problem was that there was no real finisher for me, and while I can do, like, what is this? Esper? No. Bant? Is this Bant? Is this what Bant is? Bant. No. Yeah, it's Bant. But in Bant colors, it was pretty difficult for me to find something that I really wanted to do that wasn't just get like green and blue good stuff in the deck. Plus, when you're doing a budget deck, you want it to be a little bit more focused than that. So I was trying to find ways to get everybody to either discard their cards or draw the cards, so I can manipulate the way I would get my card advantage or like give things out. And it was just really difficult because it just ended up being just a weird hodgepodge of things that like never really worked out. Like, me having no maximum hand size, so I'd always have more cards than them, but then like, what's the point of the card draw aspect of it? So get more card draw from it, but like, what if you already have the cards that are from it? And so like, it just felt so weird to have all these things out. Like, oh yeah, no, I'll get the 7/7 out, so that everything is 2/2 and vigilance and trample, but I've already attacked, so like, what's the use of that, you know? Like, it felt like I was trying so hard to do something that nothing worked with, and eventually it just kind of fell through. Just wanted to build a deck that was around the other commander within a Miss Bumbleflower, because I was interested in Miss Bumbleflower, but I already knew somebody who made one, or at least everybody made one, but like, I already knew somebody who made one, and I was like, I don't want to step on their toes or whatever. But I was sitting here just thinking, it's like, well, maybe I should just go through and find some way to make it work for me, and nothing ever felt right. So yeah, as an example of one that as I was building it didn't work out. Or yeah, I'm not a stranger to gross decks. Bruvac. I thought maybe I could get a $20 card to still fit within budget, you know, make the commander the main thing. And very quickly, very, very quickly, it ended up getting way out of budget. Because like, to get any of the cards for Mill to work, any of it, this is essentially all the Mill cards, right? All the decently good Mill cards, and it's not good. The price is already $34, and I just updated this to cheapest, like less than a minute ago. But Bruvac being $20, unless Bruvac comes down on price, I don't think I'll be able to build a Bruvac deck that's less than $30. And yeah, I could increase the price of it, and I could build a budget version. I could ignore the commander, but everybody does that. So I was already just like, you know what? Hands in the air, not even gonna worry about it. Don't want to try and build that deck if somebody else has already got that thing done. Plus, it's one of those decks where like, I would want to buy it just to be like, once in a while I can make everybody mill out, but when that's like the thing that you do when there's nothing else, it gets really boring. If the only way you win is doing the one thing, that's a very boring deck. I don't want to force people to play that. Kind of don't want to condone it either. So I kind of gave up on it. But speaking of giving up on something, What a transition. Speaking of giving up on something, Xavier Super Friends. I really wanted to build Super Friends in a lot of different capacities. I think it was this one in Kaith that I put together Super Friends builds for, that I was like, oh, they could work because they have the proliferate thing on them. And this one, removing and getting counters was really nice for me, because then I could just remove a counter, populate a token I made, or remove a creature and proliferate, meaning all the different Super Friends that I had got a lot more counters and I get closer to ults. There's only a single catch though. They're budget planeswalkers. Right now, I guess it's at like 30 some odd bucks if I have like the cheapest. 32, okay, it's a little bit more. None of these planeswalkers have great abilities. Almost none of them. What I found is there was one specific one that would like loop a lot. There it is, Kasmina. Kasmina Enigma Sage, where the +2 was a godsend because I could put that on other planeswalkers and I wouldn't have to worry about other planeswalkers losing all their loyalty abilities, because newsflash, a lot of the planeswalkers that are in budget are the ones that only have minus abilities, meaning that the loyalty was going down and down and down and down and down. So I had no choice but to get other ways of adding more counters onto it, because not a lot of them made any amount of creatures, except for Kasmina, which did. And with Kasmina, that creature was very integral to the game plan, except I needed it to just be a 1/1. I couldn't have it always be just a 1/1 though, because I needed to use this ability on every other planeswalker that I had. It just became get Kasmina, the deck, and hope that your Xavier Sol can last long enough to populate however many tokens you have, but they're just 0/0s that are going to die anyway because they need counters. So it just ended up not really working out, and everything else was kind of nice. It was a bunch of like other populate things that would help out. Like the ramp is always fun when you get like Astral Cornucopia or like Everflowing Chalice. Other than that, like it just kind of became not great. Like at all. Other than that, there was really not much that it would do. It kind of relied on there being better planeswalkers. That's why a lot of Super Friends decks are actually made with better planeswalkers. That didn't really work out for me, and I tried, I really did, but it just didn't work. I wish it did though. This next one, I can say without a doubt that I had the funniest intro planned for this deck, and that pushed it pretty far along within my idea for production because of the idea of how I would introduce this deck, but it's just not that good. Like it got pretty dang far. And that one would actually go to Tormod and Keskit, the Defilers of the Dead. Keskit would allow you to sacrifice 3 artifacts or creatures. Then you look at the top 3 of your library, put 2 into your hand and 1 into your graveyard. So there's a lot of graveyard stuff there. So that's a good way to fill your graveyard, get stuff into it, and then your Tormod, the Desecrator, partnered with it, where if something left your graveyard, you'd make a 2/2 zombie. So you were meant to make zombies that would then get you more things in the graveyard to remove them and get more zombies. This one actually genuinely has some legs compared to a lot of the other ones. This could do stuff. Like I've seen this get genuinely really good, but the only problem with it is it just kind of dirtles for most of the game, and you need to have that spark to set it off. And if somebody resets you, you're kind of out of the game. So it hurt to play. I tried really hard for that intro, and I don't want to say what it is, because if I can actually get this to work, or if I end up just actually putting this out there, then I don't know. Maybe one day I'll do it. But like as an example, this whole thing is just about getting things returned from your grave with abilities that were built into it. You'd use things such as Not Very Alive. Which one is it? But you'd use things like Victimize or Another Chance or other ways to just get things out of your graveyard and back into your hand to keep going over and over and over again. Because if any cards left your graveyard, then you would get a zombie out of it. In all honesty, Mimic Vat was an all-star in this too. Whenever it dies, you exile it, so it would get those dice trigger that I'd usually have, and then it would exile from the graveyard, meaning it does hit the graveyard and it does leave the graveyard. Really fun stuff. Then you get token copies of whatever you had that was in there. I'm holding off on it at least. I'll just give you the preview because I'm feeling generous. If the description doesn't give you an idea with that second line of what I was gonna do, then I don't know if I can give you a description of what I was gonna do. This next one was actually a very short-lived deck list. I had it and it was really nice and I really liked it. The only problem was I didn't check up on the card before I made this deck. No, it's not banned. No, it's not way too expensive. The problem I had with this card, it was already a commander pre-con. Like, I was like, oh, this is perfect for a pre-con. Of course it is. It was made for a pre-con. It's the commander. I wasn't treading any new ground with this. I actually made a pretty decent deck out of it too, but it turns out that it's pretty much the same. Yeah, Urza, not the bad one. Then you go in and like, oh yeah, I saw. It took me like a couple times of trying it out. People are like, you know, this was already a deck, right? And I was like, what? I went pretty far with this one too. This was going to be a video. And then I found out it was Brothers War Commander. A little upset. Just a little upset. Speaking of not working out at all, I've always wanted Zirda to work out. And Zirda the Dawnwaker is a very fun creature because it doesn't care about what kind of ability it is, because most of them that do this effect care if they're creatures. This one doesn't. It can be anything as long as it's not a mana ability. Here's the problem with that. I built this one, this C50 COL. That was my whole point of like saying 50 cents or less, because I used to make sure every card in the deck cost 50 cents or less. As you can see, this has changed. My problem with this one is that I wanted to do a bunch of really good abilities like Ambush Paratrooper. Really good abilities that already cost 5 mana that when reduced by 2 become way, way too expensive. This whole, like, sure, Burnished Heart, paying the 3 and then getting to pay 1 to get for the 2 lands, pretty good. But like, other than equipments that have like really high equip costs or artifacts that have really high tap and activation costs, there really wasn't much good going on here at all. The only thing, and I just saw it, the only thing that genuinely made me love this deck was Lean and Sun Standard, which was the reason why I kind of put it into Abdel Adrian. This was also a really good card because for 3 mana, you would get, what was that? Not 8 mana. Pretty nice. 3 mana filter for 8. Oh, hey, here's what I ended up doing with the Zirda one. It ended up being a cycling deck. And I had this one ready to go. Oh, I can show you the picture. There was a picture I was going to put out and it's on my phone. So Spencer and I actually were gonna record this video and we ended up not. So around the same time as we did the mine video, and if you haven't seen that one, I'll show you the funny, this is my contact photo for Spencer, but him in this, it's really good. But I had gotten a lot of makeup from a Halloween store from the years previous, and I wanted to do it's not a phase, it's a cycle as the whole theme for the deck. And I just finished up the whole like that with Spencer with the clown stuff, and so in the same day I was like, cool, I'm gonna go put on some makeup. I've had this picture of me. I've had this picture of me the entire time. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look at that. I took it so seriously. It's not a phase, Mom. It's a cycle. It's so stupid. Hold on, I gotta get this back into focus. I'm glad I got to finally show that picture. I've been holding on to that one for a minute. And to be fair, this whole thing is just me showing you that like I do have a lot of suggestions from each of you. It's fun. It's fun to go through these. Just give you an idea of how I usually go and how difficult sometimes it can be for me to find ways to do things. If there's something I missed or there's some way that you built something, I'd love to know, because a lot of these things I really did want to make and I really still do. But like, you could either tell me in the comments below or you can join the Discord. It's always free, first link in description. Now, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a lot more videos like this. I don't know if you would come to expect it. If it does all right, then maybe. Either way, my whole goal here is to build decks for all of you. And if you have recommendations for commanders for me, I look at those. And a lot of these that I actually do have were recommendations. And a lot of them are just new commanders. And a lot of them are things that I just found. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, if you like this, let me know by leaving a comment. I'm not too sure whether or not I have any other things like this to do or like talk about. But for the most part, y'all are here for what I assume is highfalutin editing. And funny bits. But if you like me to sit down every once in a while and be candid, I'm not going to necessarily turn into a drama tuber, but just candid about different things or my process, I could do that. Leave it in the comments. I'll see what I can do about it. Maybe I can get something made. Maybe I can't. You don't know me.
And a special thanks to Picard001, who between donating plasma to kittens and giving CPR to the elderly still finds time to support this channel. And then as always, thank you to my higher power members, Jennifer Griffith, Devin Spooner, Filthy Casual, Ezavor, A-Train, and Angela Ryder. You don't have to, but because you all give me such generous support, I truly, deeply thank you.